60 years of its existence, and under this banner of SIES institution since 1932. SIS College had instituted the department Center for Excellence in the year 2008, and we have completed more than 12 years. And today we are presenting you a webinar on Python for Beginners, a complete hands-on training program. And today with us we have our speaker of the day, Ms. Maya Nair. To begin with the session, today's session is basically related to hands-on training program where you get an opportunity to understand the programming with the guidance of a resource person. I would now request Florina to introduce our speaker. Florina?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mahalakshmi,
Yeah,
ma'am.
please.
Miss Maya Nair has completed her post-graduation in computer science from University of Calcutta, Kerala in 2002. She has completed her MA Phil Computer Science in 2009 from Alagappa University and currently is a PhD research scholar working in research area of data science. She joined SIS College of Arts, Science and Commerce in Computer Science Department as an assistant professor in 2005, and since then she has conducted various activities in her college including state level and national level seminars. She has expertise in several program languages and technology like Python, Java, to name a few. She has also been instrumental in collaboration and various association for the college, which was highly appreciated in NAC second and third cycle to achieve A grade with highest CGP score. She has been consistently associated with college MPTL local chapter, received several appreciation for her effort as a mentor, including Top Performing Mentor Award, Well Paid Mentor Award, and Popular Mentor Award too. In addition to that, she was placed in the top 5% in MPTL course Introduction to Modern Application Development. She has She has presented research papers in several international and national seminars and conferences. Received second prize for Best Research Paper Award in the international conference held at GNVS Institute of Management, Mumbai. She has also published research papers in several peer-reviewed journals and conference proceedings. Now, I would like to call Maya ma'am to take the session ahead.
Thank you, Florina, for the generous introduction about me. Welcome everybody, all the participants over here for this training session of Python for beginners. For programming, you need to have a growth mindset. You cannot keep a fixed mindset for the same. And you need to understand that people get the programming skills through practice. Nobody is born as a programmer. And currently you are unskilled in programming doesn't mean that you cannot be an expert in future. And there is no age limit for the same. So keeping this in mind, let's explore. And
Maya ma'am, you have gone on mute. Maya ma'am, please unmute yourself.
okay, so should am I audible now?
Yes ma'am, you're audible. Thank you.
Okay, so let's begin with our session. Okay, so is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Visible enough.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So, yeah, fine. So let's start with the concept of Python for beginners. Okay, so why exactly we had titled this particular webinar as Python for beginners is like we are going to introduce the basic concepts of programming through Python. And we are going to see how Python can be used as a first programming language, or you can just start with the concept of programming with Python, and you find that it's really easy to start coding with Python compared to the different programming languages that you might have learned or you might have heard about. Okay, so these are the stuff that we would be just covering. Installation of Python 3 ideally, that is the appropriate IDE that we would be using for working on. And I hope you might have installed in your machines because I had already given the installation link. I expect people to have already installed it. Okay, so then these are the various topics that we will be covering one after the other. So what is Python? So everybody knows now the Python is
Hello?
very, hello, yeah.
Ma'am, your voice is echoing. There are two
Okay,
devices on.
1 minute,
In one you mute off.
okay, let me check,
Yeah,
1 minute.
yeah. One which you are speaking now, that mic let it be on. There is echo.
Let me check, maybe I have already,
Hello.
yeah, is it the same now? Hello,
I think somebody has mic on.
I don't think there is an issue from my side. I don't find any issue from my side. Shall I continue?
Now clear.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll continue. Okay, so just continue with what we had seen. Like I just told you, like we were just looking into the concept of what exactly is Python. Python is an interpreted, object-oriented, high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. That is how we define it. And then you find that Python is nowadays used in many different areas. That means when it comes to research areas like data science, machine learning, or say artificial intelligence, Python is a kind of programming language everybody prefers to go for. The reason behind it is like the less amount of code actually we need to write for a very complex activity. Okay, things like it doesn't mean that you cannot perform complex work with Python. You can perform complex work, but you don't have to actually write the large amount of code. Like if you go for the same program that you write with Python and Java, and then you compare the two, you find that it's really it makes a very big difference. The size of the program makes a big difference. So that's why generally people prefer to go for Python as the programming language of their choice. It's object oriented. That is what exactly is needed, where you have all the classes and objects which are used as the programming methodology with which you will be able to organize your code in a better fashion and has good dynamic semantics. Now, why Python? Why, as I just told you, Python is being used for different application areas because it is powerful, it's fast, plays well with others. That means it has a proper way of communicating with any other programming language. Like you can write something in Python, you can collaborate it with C++, you can collaborate it with Java or any kind of this one. But it doesn't mean, because Python is actually a kind of programming language where modules are the ones which plays the role. You just take up a module which is nothing but a plugin kind of stuff, and then you put all the contents that is required for a particular activity, create a module out of it, and then that module can be used as a part of your program, as a part of your software. And you find that you don't have to write all those codes that is actually required. Everything is there in the module. So for example, if it's data science, you have a module called Panda. If it's gaming, you have a module called Pygame, and so and so. So you just take those modules, and those modules would contain the content that you are supposed to go for. And it is very friendly, user friendly, easy to learn, that you just get to understand, and it is an open source software. So that is the basic advantage and why we should go for Python. Okay, so today, as such, we are just going with the basic installation and basic way of working with Python. So we are going to work with the ideally, that is the Python platform IDE that has been automatically or by default provided by python.org. Uh, Other than ideally, you find that there are several IDEs which are available, which are much more efficient also. And certain, rather than IDE, you can say it's like an Anaconda. Anaconda is actually having Python as an inbuilt feature over there. And you find that these kind of IDEs will be generally used for higher implementation, like when you go for data sciences and all, data science implementation and all, at that time you will go for that one. So maybe in the next session, the advanced session, we may go for that kind of IDE. Okay, ideally it is named as to honor Eric Idle, who was one of the founding members of Monty Python. So you need to understand that the name the programming language has got is not based on the serpent. Rather, it was based on one of a TV show that the creator of Python language, Guido van Rossum, was very much interested in. And that particular TV show was Monty Python, and ideally was named as Python ideally was named in honor of Eric Idle, who was one of the founding members of Monty Python. So this was just for the purpose of basic idea of what exactly is Python. Okay, so now I think you might have already installed. I don't have to go for this kind of installation part, because you might have gone to python.org. You can just download the appropriate Python version. The newer version would be always available. 3.8 is what the newer version that we have currently included. And once you download it, it's an executable file, then you just run that, go with all the procedures, go with all the defaults, and then once it is completely done, you just type in your search bar ideally, and you would be able to get this ideally over here, and then your ideally is ready for your execution. Okay, so now let's think about the very first Python program. Okay, so generally for any programming languages, we say we need to write hello world as the first program. Okay, so let's see how exactly we would be able to write the very first program in Python. Consists of a single statement, and that is a print hello world. That's it. So you have done with your first program in Python just a single statement by writing print hello world. Okay, so Python programs are affectionately called as Pythonistas, and so you are now a Pythonista. Okay, so now let's move on. Let's see what are the building blocks of a program, and then we will be specifying how Python is in Python, how it is being implemented. So basic building blocks, if I say we start with the comments. Okay, so if you have not heard about comments, please keep a note on it. Comments are nothing but used for documentation purpose. So in a program, if you write comments, it's just for the purpose of the one who is reading your program, but those statements would never get executed. So if you want to increase the readability of your program, it's always good, because sometimes people write a program and after a year or something, they just open up the program and they themselves will not understand what they have written. So it's always good to have comments. You need to put comments in your program, and in Python, you put comments with the help of this hash. Okay, the hash symbol, as you can see, is the one that is used for comments. And then move on to the next one, that is the concept of variables. Okay, what exactly is a variable? A variable is a very important building block of a program, because it is the one which actually holds the memory or holds the values for the user. So it's a part of a memory. It's nothing but a memory. Okay, and then how exactly can you declare or define a variable? So when it comes to any other programming language, if you have been through any programming language before, you know that you need to declare the variable first. A declaration generally would involve a statement saying what exact data type that particular variable is going to be of, and then you would be having any other kind of special information that you want to provide. Okay, but when it comes to Python, your variables are not needed. That is, you don't have to actually declare your variables. Your variables automatically gets declared when you define it. A variable is said to be defined when the variable appears at the LHS part of an assignment statement. Whenever it appears at the LHS part of an assignment statement, you say the variable is defined. Okay, so before that, let's see how you can actually define a variable. What are the rules and regulations with which you will have to go for the variable declaration? A variable, it can be only one word with no spaces. That means you cannot have two words with a space, or it can be several words which are separated by underscore. Please make sure that you are not supposed to use hyphen. You need to use only underscore. And it can use only letters, numbers, and the underscore characters. And one thing to be taken care, it can begin with a letter or it can begin with an underscore, but it cannot begin with a number. So as I had shown the example, max marks and max underscore marks, they are two valid variables. Variables are case sensitive, that is, the max marks in all small letter is different from this particular title case max marks. Okay, so that's about the variables, and that is how we will be going with the concept of variables later. Then comes the data types. I told you that every variable, in other programming language, you need to specify what is the data type of the variable. But in Python, what exactly happens is, like, every variable has got the data type, but that data type automatically is assigned to it depending upon what initial value you are assigning to a variable. What value you put into a variable, depending upon that, the data type for that particular variable is taken care by the Python interpreter. Okay, so that's what are the various data types that we have in Python are Boolean, integer, float, string, list, dictionary, tuples, and these are all that we are going to actually see what exactly is. And then we have a set of operators. You already know that in order to write any statement, you need to have a good grasp on the various operators that you can have in a programming language. We'll just have a quick look on the operators that we have. I'll just go and take you to this particular PDF, which contains the various operators that we generally have in Python. Okay, the major operators are arithmetic, assignment operators, comparison operators, logical operators, and membership operators. In arithmetic operators, these are some special operators which is not there in other programming language and which is introduced in Python. For example, a double asterisk stands for exponentiation. It is actually standing for 2 to the power of 3 if you want to write it is exponentiation. A mode is for modulus, which is to find the remainder. When you divide a number by another, you want to get what is the remainder. That is a modulus operator. This is again a special operator that is called as a floor division operator, which when divide a number like 22 divided by 8, you find that it may lead to kind of floating point number, but when you are using double slash over there, it gives you only the integer part of the quotient. Only the integer part of the quotient would be displayed. A division operator, multiplication operator, and addition operator is the same as in any kind of programming language. Then you have the assignment operators over here as it is shown. Okay, yes, assignment operator indicates it's is an equal to symbol over there, but it doesn't have any idea of saying something is equal to other. Rather, it's just for the purpose of assigning. If I say x is equal to 5, it means that I'm going to put the value 5 within x, or x is a variable which will be stored somewhere, which will be having some memory, and the value corresponding to it would be 5, and the data type of x would be automatically converted into 5. You don't have to specify. And then you have an assignment operator like plus equal to, okay, which actually stands, it's a short form of x is equal to x plus 3. And then you have the various other operators, all the operators with an equal to, which actually is the shorthand of writing. That means if you have a variable at the LHS part being used again at the RHS part at the first position, you don't have to write it like this. Rather, you can write it like this. Okay, that's a shorthand in Python that you go for, and it's available for every operator, every arithmetic operator that we have seen. As a comparison operators, which are quite required when you are going to perform some conditional statements within your program, where you want to check the equality. This is how you check the equality: double equal to sign, not equal, greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to. And then you have the logical operators. Generally, the logical operators are again used in conditional statements, where you have several conditions and then you want to combine those conditions using a logical operation. So the basic logical operations are AND operation, where two different statements would be taken, and then those two statements, if they are true, then only the result will be true, otherwise the result will be false. Okay, so generally the output of these operators would be a Boolean value which is either true or false. Or again, is similar to that of AND. Only thing is that if any one of the statement is true, the result is going to be true. And not is it's just taking the reverse of whatever is the appropriate condition. It just reverses. If the result is true, then not of the result would become false, and so on. And then we have a special membership operator that we use in Python, that is in and not in. This is basically used in a sequential data type like a list or a string, where you want to check whether a particular element is available within the data structure, data type or not. So it gives you a true false value again in. If it is already, that particular element is already there in the data type, then it gives you a true value. If the element is not there, it returns you a false value in this case of this one, and for not in, it's the other way around. Okay, so that's about the operators. And then we have literals. Literals are nothing but constants, numerical constants, or the string constants that we use within our programming language to define something. Such kind of constants are called as literals. Okay, and in addition to that, we have several built-in functions in Python. The various built-in functions in Python, there are large number. So I've just given you a few over here, and then we will just work on these different functions in our current session. Now we will be moving on to our hands-on session right now after this. So the various functions include a help function. A help function is basically for finding the appropriate help. And you want to know what exactly that int function is for, what are the parameters used for that. So you just need to pass on the name of the function to the help, and then help would provide you with the entire description. Then what you have is a type function. A type function takes any parameter, like it's a variable, and it gives you the appropriate data type. Since when we declare a variable, we don't know what is the data type of the variable, because we just provide the initial value and the data type is automatically calculated by the interpreter. So at any point of time, you want to check what is the data type of your variable, you can just make a call to type, and then it provides you with the data type. And then you have the input function. An input function is generally used to retrieve values from the user, to get the value for the variables from the user. Rather than we giving some constant, we want to take values from the user. Then you have the print function, which displays the string value inside its parenthesis on the screen. And then you have an eval function, which is an evaluate function, which will take any kind of string and as its parameter, and then it will evaluate the string and provide the result in the form of an integer. Then you have certain type conversion functions, which is commonly used, like an int function, a float function, and an str function. Int and float takes a string as its parameter and then gets converted into an integer and float respectively. Whereas str is a function which would take an integer or a float as its parameter and gets converted into a string. And then what we have one more thing that before we move on to the first part of the hands-on session is the concept of Python F strings. Python F strings are available from Python 3.6 version onwards, and it's a really a handy and a readable, simple way of combining string literals with variables. Generally, what happens is like whenever you want to print a result, the result would contain both the string, which will elaborate the result, and then the actual value. So whenever you want to go for such kind of stuff, you find you can go for the Python F strings. For example, if I have somebody's name has been already taken and we had already taken somebody's age, and then we need to just give the information to the user that candidate's name is so and so and age is so and so, you can just write with this print statement, print followed by this F. This is how you write it. F is a F string notation, and then you just give within double quotes whatever you want to display. For example, if I say print F double quotes, candidate's name is, and then followed by wherever the variable is coming, you put it within curly braces. And age is again, you put it within age, the variable you put it within, sorry, age you put it within the curly braces. So automatically you find the interpreter would take the value from the variable that you had put within the curly braces. So here the variable that you had put within the curly braces has the value and truths, and here the variable that you have put within the curly braces age has a value 32, and then when you run the statement, it will print the output as candidate's name is Andrews and age is 32. Okay, so this is a very handy. Initially, before this, you find that the Python versions had format functions, string format functions, which had much more complex stuff that we had to work on. And this is considered to be very easy compared to that. So let's have a quick hands-on on our basic concepts that we have done till now. So I'll just move on to the ideally, which I had already opened here. So hope you are able to see my screen, everybody. Anybody can just give me a confirmation whether this Python shell is full. Yes. Okay, so let's, yeah, fine. So this is our Python shell where we will be able to have our appropriate calculation done. Here, this will be an interactive interpreter where you just give some commands and then the output for those commands are automatically obtained over here itself. And basically, we don't write larger multi-lines codes over here. This is meant only, this particular shell part is meant only for single lines of statements. So let's have some quick implementation of what we had seen previously. Okay, so the first thing that I will be doing is writing the first program. You remember the first program? Yes, what was the first program? That is the Hello World program. So we'll just write our Hello World program. That is first Python program in command. I just put in comment and then just type print, and then string can be put in a single quotes or a double quotes within the print function. Python considers a string to be put either using double quotes or single quotes, and then I say that print hello world and I got the output as hello world over there. Okay, so now in addition to that, this interpreter, this particular part can be used like a desktop calculator. You want to perform any kind of calculation, you just type in all the calculations like say 235 456 into 3 or something, and then I say enter, then I get the result for the same. So And then if I want to just work on our this one operator, this is, if you remember, it is 25 to the power of 4. If I say, I get the result for the same. And then if I say 253 /2, if you remember, this is meant for floor division, where the quotient will be only the integer part. Only the integer part will be retrieved as a quotient. So I get the value as 126. And again, if I do the same thing like C253 divided by 2, you get the result as 126.5. That is the floating point value. So that's the difference between double slash and single slash. So let's check out with some variable declarations and then how it works. Like say height, I am just trying to write some statements to calculate the body mass index. Okay, the body mass index is calculated as somebody's weight divided by the square of height. So I'll just specify the height as say 1 point something like 65. Okay, and then we say the weight. The weight is say 58. And then I calculate the power of height because it is weight divided by the square of height. So I'll calculate the power of height as a height. Please note that I have not stored this particular value in any variable. Okay, I just calculated it as a height. That's one. It's showing me the result over there. And then I say my BMI is equal to weight divided. Okay, so weight divided by, you are supposed to write height to the power of 2, but you had already calculated, right? But I have not assigned that calculation in any value. But in Python shell, the last calculation is always available within a special magic variable, you can say, that is an underscore. You just use an underscore over there. So I say weight divided by underscore, and that gives me the last calculated value over there. And now the BMI is calculated, but it's not printed because we have not printed. I just type BMI, and then the BMI is displayed. So this is the BMI of a person with a height of 1.65 and a weight of 58. This is clear. Okay, so now the problem with the shell part is like you write whatever statements, whatever contents you type over there, it's not reusable. It will not be available. You will not be able to save it as a file and use it later. So whenever you want to go for saving a file and using it later, it's always better to go for file creation. Okay, so we'll be seeing how this same program of BMI calculation by using file creation. But before going for that, I need to just explain you some of the built-in functions that I had just told you. If you remember, I told you there is a function called as help. Okay, so help is a function which, when you provide with an input, which is the name of any function that you want to know about, gives the description about it. Okay, so that means help, within bracket, I just say print because I don't know how to write the print function. So I'll just say help within bracket print, and then I say enter. Then it gives me a documentation about print. So this is the documentation about print, where it gives me the entire parameters or arguments corresponding to the print function. As you can see, I'll just give you the basic idea. It says that you can have one single value, or separated after that single value, you can separate it and you can have any number of values. That means you can say print a comma b comma c comma d, etc., where a b c d are all variables that you have previously defined. Okay, so you can print values like this, and then there are certain other parameters. If you remember, I had printed hello world by just saying print within double quotes hello world. I didn't give any other parameter. So there are other parameters over here. As you can see, there is a separator, there is an end of the file, there is a file, there is a flash, and many more. Okay, so don't get confused with these parts. At least you need to know these two parts. Okay, so what exactly is a separator? A separator says that once you do with your printing, if you have more than one variables, then how you want to separate it. Okay, so by default, if I print a comma b, then the value of a will be separated by value of b with a space. And if you want any other kind of character that you want to use, you can specify the character, any character, like you want to put a colon, you want to put a dollar, any kind of that one. So you can manipulate it. But if you don't manipulate, by default, it will take it as space. Then you have an end followed by a backslash n, saying that the last statement after printing would be a slash n. That means every time you print, your cursor goes to the next line. And if you don't want your cursor go to the next line, then you can change this particular parameter. So it's up to the user how he wants to go for. So this help function gives you an idea about exactly what a function is. We can just work on help of input also, because we are going to work with input also now. Help input, I say, then it gives me the description about input. And but you can see that for input you have only one parameter, and that is also not needed because it's already having a default value of none. But generally we go for a input with a parameter. Whatever over here is written as prompt. Prompt indicates what you want to tell the user to enter. For example, print, that means input, enter your age or enter your name. Okay, so that exactly is what is called as prompt. So the basic parameter that we have for an input function is a prompt. And then another inbuilt function that I had been talking about was the type function. So let's see how it works. I will just type of height, because height is a variable that we have already used here. So if I say type of height, you're able to see the output as class float. Okay, so what exactly is float? Float is a data type. And why class? Because Python is an object-oriented programming language, so everything is defined within Python. All the data types are defined within Python in the form of classes and objects. So that exactly tells you this is the type of height. And similarly, now let's work with our input function. I'm going to ask the user about his age. Okay, so how will I go for it? Age is equal to input, and then I say enter your age. Okay, so age is equal to input, enter your age, and then when I enter, it's asking me enter your age. So that is your prompt, right? Enter your age, and then people come to know, okay, you're supposed to enter the age, and then if I enter something like this, and then I say enter. Okay, so that means age has got the value 37. If I just print age, shows me 37, but there is something fishy about 37 over there. Okay, so I need to find what is the problem with 37 over there. I'll just say type age. Okay, I want to check the data type of age. Okay, so now what you have here, the data type of age is a string. Okay, so the class string. So that is the reason why I got the 37 within a single quotes. So what exactly it tells you is like the input function by default, whatever value the user enters, takes it in the form of strings. So if, for example, if I've had to use the age as a numerical value, I had to perform some calculation or something. In that case, I have to perform typecasting. Okay, so I'll just perform the typecasting of the variable age as integer. Okay, so the function that is used for that purpose is int. So if I say age is equal to int of age, then you find that the content of age will be rewritten. You find that there is no data type specific for a variable. A variable which was a string previously is now going to be converted into an integer very easily. Okay, so now let's check whether it is changed. I say type age, yes. So now what you have is the data type of age is an integer rather than a string right now. So hope it's the concept is clear. Now let's move on to the eval function. You remember there is an eval function. I'll just explain you the concept of eval function. An eval function evaluates a given string expression and then calculates the integer corresponding to it. Okay, so to get a quick look into how it would be, like I'll just declare two variables. I'll say a is equal to 2, and then I say b is equal to 5. Okay, and then I declare a string. I'm going to declare it, I mean not declare, define a string. I'm going to define a string with these two variables. Okay, the variables are a and b, and I'm going to write it as a to the power of 2 plus b to the power of 2 plus a into b. So a square plus b square plus 2ab is what I have written over here as a string. Okay, so I had just defined that string, and now I want to print the value for this one. Okay, I want to display this value. I want the appropriate expression to be evaluated because the value for a variable a and b has been already defined. I want it to be evaluated, though it is a string. I want it to be evaluated and the result to be displayed in the form of an integer. So I just say eval, and then I give s, eval s, and then I say enter, which gives me 49. Yes, so 49 is the result of 2 to the power of 2, 2 square plus 5 square plus 2 into 5. So that gives you 49. So this function is very handy for such kind of expressions. You already have a string expression, and then that expression has to be evaluated. You want to get a result. Eval is a function that can be used. Okay, so I have just touched all the basic built-in function that I had shown you in the PowerPoint. Now let's just have one first Python script. Okay, that is a Python file being created. So whatever we have done till now was on the Python shell, where we had just given the command and then we were getting the output. It's very interactive and it's a very easy way of learning. Only issue is like if you have a large amount of code and then it is not possible to do it over here. And another thing is like if you want to have the same stuff saved somewhere and to be used, reused, and you want to check those codes later also, in that case again it's always handy to create a Python file. So let's create a Python file. This is how you create a Python file. You go for, if you have not just checked, once more I'll let you know, need to just click on this file menu over here, file menu, and then you select the file, new file, when you're going for a new file. Or if you already have a file, you can open the file. So I'll just start with a new file here, say file new. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the program that we have written for, that is the program for calculating, that is the body mass index. Okay, so we'll just go for it. But in this case, first we will ask the user to enter his name. Okay, so we'll just say name. We'll get the user's name, and to get the user's name you have to use the input function, and then you have to give a prompt saying enter your your name. That is the prompt that you give. Okay, I didn't do any typecasting here because name is however a string. I don't want to typecast it. And then I will ask the user to enter his height and weight. So height, should I go for a typecasting? Yes, obviously I need to. And I'm going to have a float value for height. So I'll go for float as my typecasting, and then I give the prompt as enter your height. Okay, so that's done. Then we have the weight. Weight is equal to weight, can be an integer. So weight is input enter your weight. So we have obtained from the user the three information. The information are mainly name, height, and weight. Now we need to calculate the body mass index. For that I will use a variable, say BMI. The variable BMI is equal to, I'll just say weight divided by height to the power of 2. Okay. So BMI is equal to weight divided by height to the power of 2, and now I want to print the result. Okay, so to print the result I use the print function. Okay, so in this print function now I'm going to use the f string that I taught you, I had just told you about, where you will be able to combine a string literal and the variable values together. So for example, here I want to just give an information to the user, hello, followed by the name, your body mass index is so and so. Okay, so if that is what is required, then I'll go for f string like this and say hello, followed by the, for hello Mr, followed by the variable. Okay, so hello Mr followed by the variable. So what is the variable over there that we will be using for the variable name? The variable name here, name, braces is closed, followed by a comma, then your BMI is. And now I have the floating point result, which is actually a very large number. So I just want to get a proper rounded number. So I have a handy function in Python for displaying floats, where the function name is round. I just say round, and then say BMI is my variable, and then how many precision I want. I want to show only two precisions. For example, 21 point something with only two numbers after the decimal point. So I just say this one, and then I'll close the curly braces. Okay, that's it. And then I close the f string, fine. And then I close the print function. Okay, so I have this f string written as f, followed by hello, Mr. So and so. The variable within curly braces called your BMI is within again the curly braces round of comma to the two position. Okay, so now run this program. To run the program, there is a shortcut key that is an F5 function. So when I say F in my PC, it asks me that you have not saved your file, so you need to first save it, and then you can go for it. So I'll just say we need to save it. Need to be the location that you want to save. It's always better to use in some other location than the actual Python installation location. Reason is like sometimes your file names may be the same as that of some of the inbuilt Python file names, and then later you find it creates problem when you try to open your Python ideally. So it's already there. I will go for another file. I must say CSA1. Okay, so this is a Python file. You don't have the data. The extension is not required. It automatically takes as a Python file, and the extension is a py. So I have over here. This is the name of the file and a .py. That is the extension. So it's asking me to enter your name. Okay, so I'll just enter the name over here. Say Sam. Then it asks me enter your height. Okay, then I say his height is 1.72. A weight of Sam is say 68. Okay, so it gives me the output saying, hello, Mr. Sam, your BMI is 22.99. If you remember, previously we had the floating point number with a elaborate number of values after the dot. Now it has been confined to two locations by rounding off. Hope this currently whatever we have done is clear to you. So I'll go back to our presentation and then we will switch back over here once we have seen some more concepts. So I'll just close this. Yeah. So I'll be back here. So we were within the Python f strings. Okay, now we move on to the Python statements. What are the various statements that are used in Python? Statements are nothing but a particular set of contents which are executed at a time by the system. So whatever you want to give you, whenever you write a program is actually a combination of several statements. In other programming languages, after every statement, you are supposed to give a delimiter. If you work with C, C++ or Java, you always find that after every statement, you are supposed to put a semicolon saying that the statement is completed. But when it comes to Python, the Python doesn't have any delimiter. So there is no need of putting any delimiter after your statement. If you put, then also the system will not consider it. Okay. So assignment statement is what we are actually looking into now. Assignment statements are statements of the form where you have an LHS part and an RHS part, and what you have in between is an assignment operator. So this is assignment operator. This is your LHS part and this is your RHS part. RHS part could be any expression. LHS part is going to be a variable. Okay, a variable name which should confine to the rules and regulation of the naming of variables. So such kind of variable you need to specify. So it actually assigns whatever is available in the RHS. If it's an expression, it will calculate the expression and the result of it will be assigned. Or if it's a constant, directly the constant will be assigned to the LHS part variable. Okay, so this is how it happens. And now you find that this is the first time that a variable is going to be used when you assign it. That means before that there is no declaration available for any variable. That means the system will, for example, your max underscore marks, you had given it as 100. Now the interpreter takes this value 100 and understands that the user wants an integer variable. So it will be allocating only that much memory that is required for holding an integer. So your max marks would be integer data type. So that's the basic idea. Now, one more thing that we have to look into about Python is like Python supports multiple assignments. That means we can create many variables and initialize them at a time. Okay, at a single time, you will be able to create several variables and initialize it. And that is the reason why your Python codes are always of a lesser number of codes than compared to other programming languages, where you don't have to go for declaration. That is the first thing. And second thing is like you can perform the assignment, multiple assignment within a single statement. So this is an example where you have a comma b comma c is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3. So what exactly does this mean? It means that the value 1 goes into a, the value 2 goes into b, and the value 3 goes into c. So that is how the assignment happens. So it's like a gets 1, b gets 2, and c gets 3. So rather than writing a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2, and c is equal to 3 as 3 different statements, we can just write a single statement whereby the assignment is happening. So that is one plus point of multiple assignment in Python. Okay, so that's about the assignment statement. Let's move on to the next statement that we generally use in any programming language, which is a conditional statement. A conditional statement is generally used when you have to make a decision. Okay, so you are writing a script and you want the script to behave differently if a particular condition happens, and if the particular condition doesn't happen, it has to perform in a different fashion. Okay, in such case, we go for conditional statement. As the flow diagram that shows over here is like, you can see this is the condition. If the condition is true, then you have a condition code, that is a set of code, we call it as the if code, would be executed. If the condition is false, then we have a set of code, that is a else code, which would be executed. And after that, both of them, they would reach the same position after that. Okay, so after the if as well as else. So only thing is that either if gets executed or else gets executed, and then we are back here for our further implementation. So this is the illustration of if else and its syntax in Python. Okay, so here we are going to see something different from the other programming language. In Python, we don't have another method of specifying a block. Okay, so in any other programming language, you find that there is a block is specified using a curly braces. You will be having a opening curly braces and a closing curly braces, which actually indicates that this is the set of code that has to be executed together. But in Python, we don't have any kind of block concept, that kind of block concept. What Python does is to specify a block, it uses something what is called as indentation. And indentation is very much important whenever you use statements of the sort if, while, for, functions and classes and many things. So they're all, you find indentation is considered as the way with which we perform a blocking of content. So how exactly it is done? For example, this is the syntax. As you can say write if. Okay, so this is my if else statement. This is a condition if, followed by an expression which again would be some condition. If this condition matches, then I want a set of statement to be executed. So that is the statement 1 and the statement 2 to be executed if the condition matches. So what I have to do is like, I have to put a colon after the expression, that is important, and then enter, and then put a tab. a tab over there. Okay, generally it is a tab. So there is a 4 spaces tab, and then write the statements. So automatically these two statements become a part of this particular condition. So this is a block for condition being true. Similarly, now I have to write the else part. When I have to write the else part, I should now again come back to the position where I started with if. Okay, and then after else I put a colon, and then again I enter with an indentation, and then I enter the other statements. So this becomes the block for condition being false. Hope it's clear. And now you can just see the example over here. The example says if marks is greater than 80, so that is my expression. If followed by my expression is marks greater than 80. Okay, and my statement is grade is equal to A, else grade is equal to B. So that is how I write a if else statement. So if the condition is true, then my grade becomes A. If my condition is false, the grade becomes B. The version of if condition is if statement, not a condition, rather if statement is if elif. Okay, when should we go for if elif? If elif is generally used whenever you have nested if conditions. Okay, that means you have a if condition, and then you have certain statement, and then you want to check what if this is not happening, then what? So that is, its elif stands for else if. That means if the previous condition is not true, but is it true for another condition? So if followed by a particular condition, that is the statement that you write. If this condition is not true, then you have to say else if another condition. Then you give another statement. And you can have a ladder for this one. You can have a large number of elif statements, one after the other like this. And after the entire elif, you can have finally one else, which will finally give the final statement will be displayed to the user. So this is if elif implementation. Now we move on to the next statement, very important statements in any programming language, that is the looping constructs, the looping statement. What exactly is a loop statement? A loop statement allows us to execute a statement or a group of statements multiple times. Okay, as it is illustrated in this particular diagram. As you can see, you have a set of code, and those set of code you want to execute again and again. Okay, so that means you will be having certain condition. If the condition is true, then you have the set of code that will be executed. After the execution of that code, you again go and check whether it behaves the same way, whether the condition is still the same. And if it says that the condition is still the same, that is the condition is still true, then again the code control goes back to the same set of code. And this will go on till the condition becomes false. And when the condition becomes false, you find that we come out of the looping state. Okay, so that is the basic idea about looping. Let's see what are the various looping statements that we use in Python. Okay. In Python, we generally use a while loop. Okay, so this is a while loop, as you can see. Again, a while followed by an expression and a colon. So it's similar that of our if condition also. Here also we would be using while followed by an expression followed by a colon, then an indentation, and then the statements. Okay, so this indentation is very much important. If you don't put indentation, these statements will not be considered as a part of the while expression. So always put an indentation and then write all the statements. So this is the block of the code to be looped again and again. These are the statements which would be executed again and again till this particular condition is true. Okay, you can just see this example. What we are doing, we have kept a variable count is initially 0, and then we said while the count is less than 5. Okay, while it is less than 5, that is our condition. So if it is equal to 5, then you find we will equal to or greater than 5, we are out of the condition. So what are we doing? We are just printing the count, and then we are incrementing the count by 1. Okay, to increment this count variable like this, you know that we also have one more method. You can also put it as what, count plus equal to 1, because here both this LHS and RHS variables are repeated. So this is the while loop that I had given, and you find that this would be the output. right? This is the output that we are expecting, right? Initially, the count is the one that is being printed at the first position before adding 1 to it. So initially it will show the first value of the count is 0, then the count variable gets incremented by 1. After getting incremented by 1, it goes and checks the condition. So now you find your count is 1, but it's still less than 5. So obviously it will get into the loop again, and then it will print the value for count as 1. And then the count is 2, and then again it checks the count is 2, and then the count 2 is printed, and so on. So, and then finally, after printing count as 4, it increments the count by 1, and then it becomes 5. And count becomes 5, and then when we check the condition count is less than 5 is not true, at that time you find the loop will be stopped. We'll stop the loop, and then this is the kind of output that you have for this kind of illustration. Okay, now what we have is the next kind of loops that we generally use in Python. That is a for loop. A for loop in Python is what exactly it does is like it performs the same loop iterations, but in a formal way rather than rather than the kind of way that we had seen in the while loop. It has got a formal approach where it says that you need to have a index variable. So you can just see the syntax. The keyword used for loop is for followed by a index variable. Okay, any index variable. It could be any variable of your choice. And then we are going to use that particular operator. If you remember, this is a very important operator that I talked about previously, which is actually called as the membership operator. That is in operator. So this in operator is used over here. So it's for variable, the in operator, in followed by a function, again a function which is already inbuilt within Python, is a range function. A range function, and within the range function you provide the range of the values. Okay, so it means that for those range of value you want these set of statements to be executed. So for all the range that is given in this particular function, for all those range of values, where those values would be assigned to this index variable, for each that value you will be executing this set of statements. Okay, and then once your appropriate completed over, then automatically you come through. So you're continuing checking within the range function. Range is the function which is taking care of the condition, which provides the start value and the end value. And then once it is done with, then you find your loop completed. I mean, this variable index underscore var variable gets value from the range function, where range function, can just see the syntax for range function. I put it over here. Range function generally takes 3 values: start, stop, and a step. Okay, here the start function is an optional value. If you don't give also, by default the system will take 0 as the start value. But if you want to give, you can give specifically. Stop, there is no default value, so you find stop is the required value. Okay, stop is a required value. So stop you have to give. Start is optional, and then what you have is a step. Step over there, what it means like how much from start to reach step to reach stop. What are the steps to be taken? So by default, the step is 1. That means it will move from start and increment the start by 1 every time till we reach the stop. So we will start from start, whatever be the value of the start, and then increment it by step, and we will go on to it till we reach stop. And one more thing here is like the small word given will not be considered. Okay, so in the end value, whatever you give, the end value minus 1 will be the last value that will be taken care of. I'll just with this example. You can see for x in range 2,7. Okay, so this is here. What is x? Hope you understood what is x here. X is nothing but the index variable. So for eggs in range 2, 7, where what is my start value? 2, and my stop value is 7. I have not given any step value, so obviously my step value by default is going to be 1. What are we going to do is, like variable, we are going to assign the value starting, but not include your range function never includes the stop value. It will always go with the 1 minus, that is value minus 1. So it's actually the value ranges from 2, and then after 2, your value, it becomes 3, then 5, 6, but 7 is not going to be considered because every time the range function always goes with the last stop value minus 1. So when you print this range values, so the output for those range would be like this. So what if I have to display 7? So obviously what I have to do, I need to have stop. So you should always use the stop value as 1 more than the actual value you want at your stop part. So that is how it works. So hope. Now we move on to another very important statement that we generally use within a loop. This is a break statement. A break statement has got the same kind of way of working. If you have already done with your other programming languages, if you find your break for the explain you the same. A break is a statement which allows you to break. If you want to move out of the loop, then you can make use of a break. Rather, generally accompanied with a condition. Generally, we move out of a loop with a condition. If then you break. If it's not, you don't break. Like you can see in this example, what are we doing? Okay, 4 and comma 10. Your range, obviously your step is displayed over here. That means we relate to 19. Hello.
Ma'am, we can't see your screen.
Hello.
We can't see your Python screen. We are stuck on the presentation.
Yeah, still it is presentation going on.
My screen is blank.
Hello. Still the presentation is going on.
Ma'am, your voice is also breaking frequently.
Okay. But what are you seeing on the screen right now?
Right now we are saying break statement, but you have already spoken about it. The video and audio are not matching. Video is
Just
delayed.
now we saw the break statement window when you said the screen is on the presentation.
Okay, is it for everybody? Is it like that?
Yes,
or maybe
madam.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
For everybody, is it like that?
Yes,
So there is a lag.
Yeah,
Even
that
when you're typing in the Python window, it comes under a sign.
Okay, so there is a lag.
Your
lag
voice,
between.
ma'am, your voice is also breaking frequently.
Madam, your voice is not clear.
Okay, my voice is not clear.
Not clear.
Not at all clear. What about now?
Now on the screen
Ma'am,
there
now
is a
it's
break
clear.
statement.
It's just your audio is going faster than whatever you're showing on the screen.
Audio is going faster, but are you? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
But your voice is breaking. Your voice
Even
is
now,
breaking.
even
Your
now,
voice is still
even now, is it breaking?
again.
Yes, ma'am, even
Hello.
now also it is breaking.
It's breaking, madam.
Hi, madam.
Yeah.
See, all the participants are keeping their mic on in between. And
Okay.
there are some videos on. If you all off the video and mic, the network issues will not hinder, because a lot of broadband will be used. Okay, so all of you off your mic and video. Okay, ma'am, please stop.
Okay. So can I continue?
Yeah, now you're clear. Yes,
Okay.
please. Okay.
Hope I'm clear now, right?
So in the chat, you put questions after half an hour. Later, finish your part. Hands-on training, we'll continue in Google Classroom. Right now, let us finish the concept, because simultaneously it is not possible to happen in webinar. So let us finish your lecture. Then hands-on training part can go on with Google Classroom. That I'll talk at the
No,
end. Okay.
no,
Yeah,
listen,
please carry.
after this presentation, after two to three slides, again, I'll go back to the ideally
Yeah,
and I'll
yeah,
be
that is
showing
okay.
you.
That's not issue.
That,
There are some
yeah,
comments we want to go simultaneous with your lecture. That is little not possible.
they want to
For them,
execute
we
stuff.
give you chance in
Okay.
the Google Classroom. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
share their program code and everything. Now, there you can do it. Now you can just go ahead with the session. Please carry on. Yeah.
Fine, fine. So hope you are able to see my break statement slide right now.
Yes.
Are you people able to see my break statement
Yes, ma'am.
slide?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Fine. So as you can see, this break statement, I had already told you, it allows you to break out of a given loop. So we have a for loop here, which is given as for x in range 10, 20, which says the initial value, that is the start value is 10, and the end value, that is the stop value is 1 less than 20, that is 19. Between this particular for range, I have my x value. Okay, and then within that for loop, what I'm exactly doing is like I'm checking whether the value of x is 15. That means when x becomes 15, I break out of the loop. Okay, if x is not 15, what I will be doing? I will be printing the value of x. So the value of x would be printed till the value of x becomes 15. So you find that this for loop will go on starting from 10. So you have the output as 10, followed by 11, followed by 12, then 13, then 14. And when it becomes 15, when your x value becomes 15, automatically your condition is true, this particular condition is true, whereby you break out of the for loop and then you come out. So that is about the break statement. Now I move on to the next, that is the continue statement. A continue statement, it allows us to break or terminate out of a loop. Given a particular this one, it allows us to come out of a loop, but not completely. Sorry, here as it doesn't actually allow you to come out of the loop. Rather, it performs a different way of implementation. What it exactly do? This statement is it's not proper. It doesn't allow you to break. Rather, it continues to the next iteration. Okay, I'll just explain you what exactly is happening with continue here. When for x in range of 10, 20, the same kind of statement, what you have used here is continue instead of break. So we'll start with the value 10. Okay, so the 10 is printed, then 11 is printed, 12 is printed, 13 is printed, 14 is printed. As and when it becomes 15, rather than completely coming out of the loop, we will just move, we will not print that particular value, we will just move out of the loop, move out of this if condition, will not print the value, and then go to the next iteration. So after 15, that is 15 is not printed, it goes to the next iteration. That means we just continue with the for loop, but the current iteration will be discarded. So you find that the iteration corresponding to 15 is discarded because our conditions asked whether x is equal to 15, and then we had said continue. So that condition becomes that particular stuff is continue. That means at that particular iteration we continue, so we move on to the next iteration, and that's about the continue statement. Then another thing that you have in Python is an else clause, which you generally don't have in other kind of programming language. An else clause. Basically, an else clause is a ending statement for your loop, we can say. That means when a particular loop condition, that is a for loop or a while loop, if that particular loop doesn't execute. That means once all the conditions that has been specified for the loop has been completed, and we fall out of the loop. That is what we can say. When we fall out of the loop, then we want a set of statement to be executed. If we have, then we can put it in the else clause. As you can see here, the example, I have a count which is equal to 0 initially, and then I'll say count is less than 5 is my condition. While count is less than 5, I print the count. Okay, and then I increment the count by 1. And this goes on. And when the condition becomes true, I fall out of the while loop. When I fall out of the while loop, I would be printing the count value here. So I will be printing, I will be printing the count value, and I say count value reached so and so. So this is the particular value whereby I'll be coming out. So if you want a concluding statement for your loop, then that kind of concluding statement you can put in else. But one thing you need to take care is, like, if you had a break statement within your loop, then you will never reach your else part. So your else part never gets executed. Your else part gets gently skipped if there is a break statement within your loop. So I think we have just gone with the basic idea about the various statements, and now we will have a hands-on with the Python. Okay, so I'll just go with that. Okay, so I'll just get a new file. Fine, like a new file. Let's just write a first program. Just let me know whether you are able to see the screen. Anybody?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. So currently what you see is the Python screen, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's very quickly write a program to display the Fibonacci series. Okay, so a program to display the Fibonacci series with the help of while loop. So with the use of a while loop, we can go for a Fibonacci series program. So like how you go for it is like I just write a comment saying program to display Fibonacci. Okay. What exactly is a Fibonacci series? It's like numbers starting from 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on, right? So these are the numbers where it's actually the first two numbers are added to get the third number, then the next two is added to get the fourth number, and so on. So such kind of a series, we generally call it as Fibonacci series. So let's say, let's write the Python program for displaying this one. So you can see how with very less number of codes we are able to do that. Okay, so I'll just put it as a comma b is equal to 0 comma 1. Okay, so hope this is clear. Yes, what exactly is it doing? A is getting the value 0 and B is getting the value 1. Okay, then I start with the while loop. I'll say while B less than, I'm just giving a number, let's say 50. While B is less than 50, while B is less than 50, I'm going to print B. I'll be printing B. And then I'm going to do the next part. What you already know what has to be done, right? Here, you find A will be initially having a value, B is having a value. You have to always ensure that the next value that is coming up for the series would be the sum of the previous two values. Okay, initially my values are 0 and 1. So my first Fibonacci number that would be displayed is 1. The next Fibonacci number is supposed to be again 1. Then 2, then 3, then 5, and so on. So I'll go for a statement like say A comma B is equal to B comma A plus B. Okay, so that's it. So we have done with our coding. So let's see what exactly is happening there. Okay, so yes, anybody? Are you able to see the screen? Is there any doubt? Shall I continue? Is there somebody speaking over there?
Perfect, madam.
Yes.
Please
No,
continue.
ma'am. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, fine. So what you have here is the statement a comma b is equal to b comma a plus b. Fine. So what exactly is happening is like within a single statement, I am doing 3 to 4 stuff that I actually want to do. I am assigning the value of b to a, and then I am adding the value of A and B and then storing it in B. So it's like that. So generally what we say, if I just comment it and I'll just tell you what exactly has to work over here, is like I need to get the value for A. A should be always B's previous value, and B should be updated. B should be updated as what? B should be updated as A plus B, but here it has to consider the previous value of A. So let's see how it is actually working. So our initial value for A is 0. So what exactly is happening? Our A gets the value as 0 initially. Since we have already written the statement over here, so you find initial value of b is 0, so a gets the value 0. And then our next statement says that b is a plus b, where a's value and b's value will be added and it will be stored in b. Now one thing we can note in multiple assignment is, now though I have assigned value of b to a, okay, so that means currently a was initially 0, and when I assign b's value to a, automatically what happens? A becomes 1. Okay, but then you need to consider that it's a single statement. Within a single statement, if within the statement, if there is a change in the variable, that change in the variable is not considered. The change in the variable would be considered only after the end of the statement. For that reason, when I say b is equal to a plus b, rather than putting it as b is equal to 1 plus 1, the value, it's 1 plus 1 is not what is actually want, that is required. So it's not 1 plus 1, rather it's going to be b is equal to 0 plus 1. Okay, so why is the, what is the reason? Because you may say like we have already assigned b to a, so a has already become 1. So why, when you say b is equal to a plus b, why are you putting value for a as 0? Okay, so the reason is like this is a single statement. In a single statement, when there is a change in the value, okay, the other usage of this LHS part variable will not reflect the change. So I am changing the value of a with the value of b, but the next usage, when I say a plus b, there the value of a will not reflect this particular change because we have not completed the statement. So here when I say a plus b, a will still hold the value 0. So because of that reason, you find a will be initially a will be that means initially a is 0, and after the first iteration, b is printed as 1, and then you find a becomes 1 and b also becomes 1 after the first iteration. The second iteration, can you just go with me? In the second iteration, what would happen? A is 1, b is 1. Okay. So in the second iteration, if we go with the next iteration, again you find we will come back to the same set of statement there. B's value will be assigned to a. In that case, a becomes again 1 itself. A will remain 1, we can say, because b's previous value was 1, and b's value is a's previous value plus current value of b. So it's nothing but 2. The second iteration, it becomes 1 and 2, and so on. Okay, so this is a very less amount of code that is required to actually display your Fibonacci series, and it's very handy. So hope you understood what I have said. In a multiple assignment statement, if you make some changes to LHS part of a variable, and the same LHS part variable is being used in any other expression, that particular change that you have made is not reflected. This particular expression would take its previous value before you came into this particular expression. So I'll just execute this program. Let's see how it works. Okay. Yes, let's save it. as I told you previously, like don't save it in the Python's default location. So I just say Fibo. Save it. Okay, it's executed. So you can see the Fibonacci series being displayed till 50. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and so on. Okay, so this is an example with which we had used the while loop and the other stuff. Now let's have a program where we would be using for loop as well as break statement as well as continue statement so that it becomes a bit thorough to you. So we'll go for a program over here. This program is to find the sum of, okay, I want to find the sum of odd numbers and break when sum is more than 20. Okay, so this is what I am going to do. I want to get some number from the user. I'll take some number from the user and I will find the sum of the number starting from 1 to that particular number. And then I'll have to break out of the loop if the sum of the numbers. That means if I'm saying about sum of odd numbers, it would be sum of 1 plus 2, 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus etc. Okay, so I'll just ask the user what is the limit. Okay, so we'll just go with the limit. Okay. Enter any number. Fine. Then we go with a variable, say sum initialized as 0. Okay. To this variable, we will be adding the values. And what is our for loop? For I in range. What is the range? Our range is starting from 1. Okay, we want to find the sum of numbers starting from 1 to n. Rather than if it is till n, you always have to give a n plus 1. If you just give n, it will be discarding the n value. So it will be n minus 1. It always goes with the range from 1 to n minus 1. And if you want to include n, always go for an indication like range of 1 comma n plus 1. Okay, so there. Now I want you people to just see how this indentation had come. I didn't say anything previously. For the while loop also we had this indentation. Just note down that once you put a colon and just enter, automatically there is a space, 4 spaces that is provided by the system. That is the indentation. So now we have created a block. Okay, so here within this block I'm going to write the condition. If sum is greater than 20, okay, what I need to do is I need to break. I need to come out of the loop. And another thing is like I need to find the sum of only the odd numbers, right? So what if the number, that is the number I, is an even number? So what I am going to do is I'm going to show you the usage of continue here. If I say if I mod 2 is equal to 0. Hope this condition is clear to you. This condition actually stands for condition for even numbers. Okay, so what we are saying is like if the number is an even number, then we should not perform the addition. So what we will do, we will use a continue. So that means when the iteration reaches over there and it checks that the I value is an even number, then rather than moving further in the loop, it goes to the next iteration. So what is the next thing that is there in the loop is nothing but the statement whereby we find the sum. Hope you know how to find the sum. Sum is equal to sum plus I. I'll just put it as sum plus equal to I. So this is our statement for finding the sum. So what we have currently done is like we have written a set of codes with which we ensure that we will be able to ask the user to enter any number, and then we will be able to find the sum of only odd numbers. And if the sum becomes greater than 20, we will break out of the loop. And if the number that you have, because you have given the range from 1 to n plus 1, so there can be chances the number is an even number. So if it's an even number, we will continue. And then Yeah, so if it's an even number, it continue means what? It means that it will not execute this particular statement, sum plus equal to I. It will directly go to the next iteration. So when I becomes, or initially I is 1, when I is 1, sum is 0, so you will not break. Your I value is 1, 1 more 2 is not 0, so you will not continue. You will come here, you make your sum is equal to sum plus, sum is equal to sum plus, that means sum is equal to sum plus the I value of I. So that's done. Then you go to the next I value, I becomes 2. For I equal to 2, you find again the sum is not greater than 20, but 2 more 2 is 0. So you don't, you execute the continue statement, which will not allow you to execute this particular statement. So what it does is that it will take you back to the next iteration. So now next iteration becomes 3. So for the third, I is equal to 3, you execute it without any issue, because the I mod 2 is not 0. But for I equal to 4 again, you will have the same stuff happening. So this is how you can implement a break as well as a continue statement. Hope it's clear. So let's run and see what exactly happens here. Okay, so it's asking me to enter any number. I enter a number, say 15. Okay, one thing that we left out was to print the sum. Just print the sum here. I'll enter the number, say the number is 15. Okay, so it says the sum is 25. Okay, so that would be the sum of the odd number, maybe till 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. It has added, and when it has reached more than 20, it has come out. Okay, it's not entirely the sum of 1 to 50, only the odd numbers, and still till that value is less than 20. If it's more than 20, it has come out of the first loop. So I think we had just seen how we will be working with if conditions, and how we would be working with the while loops, and how would we be working with the for loop. Okay, so the basic idea about the looping structure, as well as the concept of the break statement and the concept of continue statement, is clear to you. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation and then continue with the content over there. Okay, so I just want a confirmation. Are you able to see my presentation screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's go back to this one, and now we are continuing with the next part, that is the compound data types which are available in Python, which are generally very helpful and very handy for working with several kind of applications. For various kind of application, you find these kind of data structures are very much handy. Okay, the very first data type that we are going to refer to is a string, but you find that you had already used the string in previous examples, wherever I had given something within a single quotes or a double quotes. For example, for printing or for f string, whatever be that, whatever I had given within a single quotes and a double quotes, it was nothing but a string. So string in Python are identified as contiguous set of characters represented in the quotation mark. Okay, a single quotation or a double quotation. Python allows either pair of a single or a double quotes to be used. You can get subsets out of a string by using certain slice operators that I will be explaining you with a hands-on how to use the slice operator. Using a square bracket, that is a slice operator basically, and each and every character which is available within a string is identified, or it's represented using an index. The index starts from 0, that is the beginning, and then it will be till the length of the string. It can also have a negative way of indexing the string. So I've just shown you an example here of, you are able to see this. Let's consider there is a string subject. Okay, the content within the string subject is Python. Okay, so it's a string consisting of 6 characters. like Python. And now you find there are two possible indexing for this particular string. Okay, where you can have a positive indexing. The positive indexing will have 0 for the first one. For the first character, you will have the index as 0. For the second character, the index would be 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. till the length of that particular string. So since the length of the string is 6 characters, but since we are starting with 0, the last one is indexed as 5. So anytime if I want to refer to one of the characters, what I need to do is like just name the string followed by the square bracket, and then you put the index. So I say subject square bracket 2, that gives you T. Subject square bracket 4 gives you O, and so on. Okay, the same way, there is another way of indexing the same string, that is by using negative indices. As you can see the negative indices over here. Negative indices, it starts with -1 at the end. So the last character is having an index of -1. So if I say subject within square bracket -1, I'm referring to the character n. Okay, and same way I'll be able to refer to the other various characters like that. So subject -4, if I say subject within square bracket -4, it is representing T, which is actually represented by subject within square bracket 2 also. So you can either go for a positive indexing or you can go for negative indexing. It does the same stuff. Only thing is that you need to keep a track of what you're doing. Like for positive, it starts from 0 to 5. For negative, from the other way around, it is -1 to -6. So obviously, you need to understand that -6 is less than -1. So you move from a lesser value to a larger value over here. Okay, so hope the basic idea of strings are clear. Okay, now how do you iterate through a string? If I want to iterate through a string, I want to move through the various characters of a string. Rather than by just using indexing, I need to have a automated way of moving from one character to another. One important functionality which is used is a for loop. It's going to be used for all the sequential data types that I'm going to talk about. A for loop. A for loop can be used for iterating through a string as shown in the example that is over here. I have a string. The name of the string is hello world. Okay, what I want to do over here in this example is like I just want to count the occurrences of the letter L. Okay, so what I'll do for that, I'll just keep the count as initially 0. Then for letter in, so you remember this is the in operator, that is the membership operator that we had been talking about previously. So what I'm saying is like for a variable name, any variable name you can have. It's not mandatory that you have to put a letter. You can put anything. You can put a character. You can put an entry or anything of yourself. This one. So I say for the variable name in hello world. Hello world within double quotes is my string. Okay. If the letter is equal to L, then I'm going to increase the count by 1. Okay, so this for loop will go on executing for every character, where first the value for the letter at the first position would be H, then it would be E, then L, L, O, then a space that also has to be considered, and so and so till it reaches the end. And for every occurrence, it will check whether it is L. If it is L, the count is incremented by 1. And then finally, what we do is we display the count followed by the information that 3 letters were found. Hope it's clear, this one. One more important thing that I need to talk about string is a string is an immutable data type that has to be kept in mind when you work with strings. There are 2 types of data types which are available in Python. One type we call it as immutable data type, another type we call it as mutable. Immutable data type says that whatever variables you create using using this particular data type, those variables are unchangeable. That means you are not allowed to change the content of that particular variable. Okay, so it's like once you create a variable, the variable will remain the same. You can't make any change to those variables. You can do one thing is like you can make changes and then write it to another variable. So a new variable will get the changes, but you will never be able to make any changes. For example, if I have this variable subject as Python, I want all these letters which are there in the capital letter form to go into lowercase. You find that I can make a call to a lower function. There is a function available, but this particular variable subject will not be changed. Since it's a immutable data type, there won't be any change in the variable subject. The variable would remain the same, but you can create a new variable by saying that subject1 is equal to subject dot lower a function. If I make a call to, then your subject1 will be in lowercase, but your variable subject will remain the same. It's all capital. Okay, so that's about the strings. Then next component data type is a list. A list, unlike that of a string, is a mutable data types, and it's a very handy data type which is generally used in case of data sciences and other research part, where it's a mutable data type. The meaning is like you can perform changes onto it. So you can append contents, you can remove contents, you can perform different operations on the same, and then the same variable gets those changes. Okay, it's the most versatile data type available in Python. We cannot actually compare it with arrays in C or C++. Somewhat similar, but not the same, because arrays in C and C++ also have sequential data, many different values taken together. But the problem there is like it allows only one single data type of content. Okay, that is, it should be homogeneous. All the content should be homogeneous. All the elements should be of the same data type. But a list in Python is a heterogeneous kind of data type. That means you can have different data types included as member of a list. For example, this is how you create a list. A list is generally created with the help of a square bracket. So you say list1 is equal to, then a square bracket. Then I can give appropriate values, whatever values I want to give. Only things that I need to separate it with a comma. I can have strings, I can have integers, I can have floats, any kind of data types included within the list structure, in the same list structure. So as you can see here, these two are strings and these two are integers, and the variable list1 has all those values. List2 is a complete integer list. List3 is a complete string list. Okay, so this is how you create lists within Python. So you just need to name the list and give the name of the list, and then put your appropriate contents within square bracket. Similar to the string indices that we had just spoken, we had just seen in the previous slide, where we had said like indices starts from 0 to n minus 1 as a positive index, and from -1 to the appropriate size, that is a negative value of the size, from the other way around. So that again remains the same for list also. So if you have this list over here, so the computer science biotechnology 1999 2002, you find the computer science is having an index of 0, biotechnology has an index of 1, 1999 is having an index of 2, and 2002 has an index of 3. Okay, and when it comes the other way around, 2002 will be -1, 99 would be -2, -3, and -4. Same way. So the indexing is similar in the case of list as well as in case of strings. Okay, so the same way how we have done in the case of string, that means we have iterated through the string. The same way we can perform an iteration through our list also. This is how you go with the list iteration. A for loop can be used for iterating through a list, as shown in the code snippet here. Okay, what you have is list1 is equal to say 1 followed by ABC and 2.30. So it's a integer, a string, and a float value. And then I just traverse through the list like this. For element in list, print element, and I get the element. Okay, so this for loop is going to be very handy. With the help of this in membership operator, you can traverse through your entire sequential data types. Another sequential data type that is commonly used is again tuple. A tuple is very similar to that of a list, but the only difference between a tuple and a list is list again is immutable like that of a string. Okay, it's a sequence of immutable Python objects. They are sequences just like list, but when you can make changes on list, you are not allowed to make changes on tuples. Okay, so you create a tuples would be for the purpose of some constant contents, constant list, which are not going to change if you have a certain constant list which you have to maintain throughout your program. So such kind of constant list you maintain with the help of tuples. So how you create a tuple is just by saying the tuple name is equal to followed by a round bracket rather than a square bracket as in case of list. Currently here for this you will be having a round bracket that will be used for the starting of the tuple and the ending of the tuple, and the contents are in a similar fashion as it is there in the list. We will be putting it separated by comma. Okay, so here you have the same kind of tuples that we have designed for our list. And whenever you want to create an empty tuple or for some purpose you want an empty tuple, then you just say to tuple name and then followed by an opening round bracket and closing round bracket. And one more thing to be noted is like if you want to represent a tuple with a single number, then you are not supposed to just write the tuple name is equal to within round bracket just a number 50. For example, here I want to create a tuple with only one number 50. So I am not supposed to just write it as tup1 is equal to square or round bracket 50. If I give it round bracket within 50, the interpreter gets confused whether you are actually going for a tuple or you are going for referring to any brackets and so on. So in order to avoid that confusion to the interpreter, you're always supposed to give a comma. Okay, this is meant for when you are planning to have a tuple with a single value. Okay, single value tuple, when you are initializing or when you are creating, you have to ensure that there should be a comma after the first element to indicate that it's a tuple. Okay, so like our string integers and list integers, our tuple integers also start at 0. They can be sliced, they can be concatenated, and we can perform all the operation on them. So now we move on to the next compound data type. That is again a very important data type often used in different application. That is a dictionary data type. A dictionary data type is considered to be a mutable data type because that also has a capability of growing. Okay, and any data type which can grow and shrink. Any data type which can grow as well as shrink, we call them as mutable data type. And the one which are not capable of growing or shrinking, which remains constant, we call them as immutable data type. So dictionary is again a mutable data type. Now what is the difference between a dictionary and the other data types that we just had referred to is a list is an ordered sequence of object. As you have already seen, they will be having an order of elements. Every element has got an index. Okay, so you find any time you want to refer to one element, you just specify the index corresponding to it. But when it comes to dictionary, a dictionary is unordered sets. Okay, it's an unordered set. That means the position of a dictionary element has nothing to do with its values. Okay, so its position is irrelevant. You don't have to actually keep track of the position of the various elements of a dictionary because, as you are going to see, a dictionary is not defined by any indices. So what exactly is a dictionary? A dictionary is a data structure which consists of a key and a value pair. You have a key and a value pair. Every key has got a particular value corresponding to it. Each key is separated from its value by a colon. We use a special symbol colon over there. So it would be a key, then a colon, then a value. The items are then separated by comma. So first key value is done with, then you put a comma, then it goes with the next key value and so on. The whole thing is then enclosed by a curly braces. So you will be having your dictionary enclosed by curly braces. So if you are going for an empty dictionary, this is an example of an empty dictionary. You will have only a starting opening curly braces and a ending curly braces. Okay, so I'll just show you the examples down. Before that, when we're talking about keys, keys are supposed to be unique within a dictionary. That means you should not repeat the key values for more than one elements. Okay, so but the values may repeat, but your keys should not repeat. And values of a dictionary can be of any data type, but the keys must be an immutable data type. You cannot have your key being a mutable data type. That means you cannot keep your key as a list or your key as any other data type which is mutable, but you can have your key as a string, tuple, or any other numbers because they are all immutable. You are not supposed to make changes to the keys. That is what it says. So let's see an example over here as it's shown the example. This is how you create a dictionary. This is my dictionary that I created as stud underscore dic. That is the student dictionary. Okay, so this is my dictionary which is opened with a curly braces over here and it's ending with a curly braces over here. And can you just guess how many elements we have in this dictionary? We have two elements in the dictionary. Okay, so though we see 4 entries, but we have only 2 elements in this dictionary, where the first thing that you see over here, this is the key of the first element, and then what you see is the value for the first element. Here what you see is the key for the second element, and this list that you see over here is the value for the second element. Hope it's clear. So it's like a name and a key and a value pair, a key and a value pair. And if you want to add more, then you will have a comma followed by the next key value pair. So in this way, you can connect several keys and values together. And one thing to be noted over here is like, if I am supposed to access any of these values, I don't have any option of indices. I need to refer to these keys. The keys are with which we will be referring to these values. So values are going to be referred with the help of keys only. Okay, so if, for example, if I create this dictionary and then I say print stud underscore dict, and then what you see is like it would be printing the entire dictionary. Okay, the entire dictionary would be displayed as such. And now, what if I want to print only the marks, or want to display only the marks? Okay, so for that, you need to use a function. One function is available in the dictionary. The name of the function is a get function. So you say the dictionary name dot get, and then what you pass as the parameter to the get function is the name of the key. So for example, here the key name is marks. So I say stud underscore dict dot get, and then I say marks. I'll be obtaining only the value which is associated with marks. So I can retrieve the appropriate keys, appropriate values with the help of the keys. And that is the only way you would be able to retrieve values from a dictionary, because a dictionary is not that means you are not indexing a dictionary. It is not indexed. So you have to retrieve every value of a dictionary with the help of the keys. And that is the reason why the keys are specified to be unique. Okay, you need to have your key to be unique, and more than that, it should be an immutable key. Somebody has kept the mic on. Can you just switch off? Okay, am I audible now, everybody? One of you confirm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so let's have a very quick look onto some of the special operators and functions of compound data types that we have. You find that this list is very exhaustive. There is a large number of functions and operators that we have. So I'll not be able to go through the entire stuff. I'll be just showing you some hands-on of some of the contents. And now for the time being, I'll just scroll through the content and just explain you the various operators that we generally have. Now you find that the plus operator that we generally use for adding numbers, when it comes to strings, when you use the plus operator in strings, it actually performs concatenation. For example, if you have a variable a as hello and another variable b as computer science, and then I say a plus b, then my output is going to be hello computer science. That means concatenation. So the plus operator is overloaded. Here comes the concept of overloading of an operator, which generally in case of arithmetic has got a meaning of performing arithmetic addition. When it comes to a string, it has another meaning, that is it gets concatenated. It actually means concatenation. So two strings can be concatenated with the help of a plus operator. Then an asterisk operator, which generally has a multiplication, arithmetic multiplication specification. Now, when it comes to strings, has got a meaning of repetition. For example, if I say a asterisk 2, it indicates that I should repeat a 2 times. Okay, so if a is hello, then your output is going to be hello, hello. Okay, but when I write it over here, please keep in your mind, since strings are immutable, there is no change happening in the variable a or b that we are talking about. Okay, so if you perform different operation, you store it in another variable, you will get the appropriate changed result, but you will not make any change in the variable a or the variable b because they are immutable. Okay, so this is the slice operator, that is using a square bracket with which you can refer to each and every character within a string. Then a range slice, with which we will be able to find range substrings within a string. We will just go with some examples in our hands-on. And then the in operator, that is a membership operator, which you might have already seen that we had used in our for loop for iterating through a string. So for example, we had written for letter in the string. Okay, so that in over there is the membership operator. And now you find there is a large amount of string functions which are actually available to change the cases, to count the number of occurrences of a particular character. You find we have written a while loop for that in our example, but you find there is already a function available to find the count the occurrences of strings which is available. So it's all handy, almost all the functions are there. Only thing you need to keep in mind is like whatever changes you make on the string is not applicable on that string. You have to get it into another string because strings are not changing, values are remaining the same. So it's a exhaustive list of functions. I will just provide you with this contents later so that you can refer to it. Then you have the list operators. The list operators again is similar to that of our operator that we have seen in case of our Python strings. You have a length operator for string. For string also, the length operator is the same. You have a len, and you give the list within it as a within the bracket, and it will give you the length of the list. Then the concatenation that I just told you about string is applicable again in case of list. Okay, if you have a list 1, 2, 3, another list 4, 5, 6, and then you concatenate it with plus, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The same way, asterisk for repetition, the same here. I say hi and then asterisk 4, then you have 4 hi within the list, that is gets replicated. Okay, now then we have the in operator and the iteration that we generally use. So that's about it. And then again, the indexing part that I told you, this is how you will be indexing the element. For example, if I have a list consisting of 24, 35, 46, and 78, if I say L of 2 says what? 24 is having an index of 0, 35 index 1, and 46 index 2, so the result is 46. Okay, and similarly L of minus 3, what would be L of minus 3? What would be the index of 78? It's going to be minus 1, and 46 is minus 2, and 35 is minus 3, and so you have the result as 35 over here. Okay, at any point of time, if I don't want to refer to the last index, I can keep the last index blank, then you find that all the elements till the end would be taken into consideration. For example, I'm starting with index 1 and keeping the last index nothing. Okay, I'm just leaving it blank. Then all the elements starting from index 1, all the other elements would be taken care of. That means from 1, that is 35, 46, 78 would be entirely considered here. Okay, so that's about the indexing part. And in case of list also, we have several functions. These are the general functions that we have for list: comparing, finding the maximum from a list, from finding the minimum from a list. And then we have several list specific functions also, like if I want to append something onto a list. Okay, already existing list, I want to add an element onto a list. I want to count the occurrence of an object. I want to extend a list with another list. I want to find the index of a particular object. I want to insert some content onto a list at a particular index location. I can go for it. I want to remove an item from the list. I want to reverse the content of the list and everything. You find we have a list of functions for that. Similar to that, we have for Python dictionary also, we have a large amount of functions, which we generally use these functions for the purpose of retrieving the keys, all the keys which are there in a dictionary, or only the values which are there in the dictionary, or only the items, only the keys, or then you want to just clear the dictionary completely, you want to copy, that is a shallow copy of the dictionary, you want to perform that. Or shallow copy indicates that you just copy it and then you get two different copies out of it. So that is the shallow copy part. And then you want to remove an item from the dictionary. Obviously, when you remove an item, you need to specify the appropriate key for that one. Pop is one particular way of doing that, where you specify the key. And then when the key is given, that appropriate key element along with its value would be removed. Pop an item removes and returns an arbitrary item. So that means an item in a dictionary is nothing but a combination of a key and a value, key value together. Okay, and that's it. You want to update a dictionary with key value pairs from other, then you can perform by update. You want to retrieve only the values of your dictionary, then you can specify, make a call to the dictionary dot values function. Okay, so I think we have done with this much, and now we'll just have a hands-on part of what we have learned about the compound data type, and then we'll conclude. Okay, so let's just go with some example of our string operations. Okay, I told you, like if I say there is a string S1, okay, I just want to confirm, are you able to see my Python shell?
Yes,
Anyone?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's say we have a variable, say S1 is equal to Python. Okay, I have another variable S2. Let's say programming. And so we'll just try to perform some kind of operations that we had seen previously, and the appropriate indexing and all that we have just seen previously. So if I say S1, we put it into a variable, S3 is equal to S1 plus S2. Okay, and then I say S. What happens? Hope it's clear. So it's concatenating the string Python and the string programming. Okay, somebody please mute yourself. Somebody is making a bit of noise. Yes, so now it's clear. So you have now the S3 being printed as Python programming, where you have the first string concatenated with another string. And if I say S1 asterisk, okay, asterisk 3. So I just want to print S1 asterisk 3. There is no change in S1, you need to remember. If I just type S1, S1 remains the same, you can see. Only thing is that S1 asterisk 3 repeats the value of S1 thrice without changing S1. You can hold it into another variable and then that variable may find the change. For example, if I say S4 is equal to S1 asterisk 3, okay, and then I say S4, you find that S4 will get that particular changed value, but your S1 will remain the same. There is a reason, because strings, as I had told you, is a mutable data type. Okay, so let's say now we want to just perform some indexing on this particular string. So if I say S1 of 4, okay, so what should be S1 of 4 here? Okay, it's giving me O. Okay, hope you understood what S1 of 4 would be. This is S1 of 0. This is a 0 index. This is 1. This is S1. S1 is Python. Okay, so here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So fourth index indicates O over here. So that's what I had got over here as O. Okay, so you get this one. And now if I want to perform a range slicing, this is just a single slicing that we have done. That means I had taken out only one character. What if I want to create a substring out of a given string? So I can perform that substring implementation by giving a range slicing. So this is how I'll go for the range slicing. If I say S2, okay, S2 3 colon 7, S2 3 colon 7, if I say, and enter. S2 3 colon 7 gives me gram here. So let's try to explore what is the actual way. P is 0, 1, 2, 3. 3 starts from G, right? So that's what you got. Okay. And then 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, second M is where my 7 would conclude, but as I had already told you, in case of ranges as well as in case of indexing, whatever you give as a stop value, it will always take one less than the stop value. That is how it is indicated. So if you were supposed to get the seventh value also, in that case, what you should have done is like you should have given the index as 8. Okay, so since I had given the index as 7, it will perform the slicing till 6. That is one less than the stop value. So you would be having the values for starting from G, R, A, M, gram, and that is what you have got in your slicing. Okay, and similarly, let's go with the negative slicing. So if I say S1 minus 3, okay, S1 minus 3, what is S1 minus 3? It says H. Okay, so hope it's clear now. Minus 1 starts from N, minus 1, minus 2, and minus 3. So S1 of minus 3 is nothing but H. Okay, I can even have a negative slicing range also. I say minus 4 colon minus 1. What you get here is, what you have is Python for S1, and you are given minus 4 to minus 1 means it starts from minus 4. Okay, so that is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. T is the minus 4. From minus 4, it goes with minus 5, minus 6, and then the last value is again omitted. Hope you are able to understand that the last value that you give is always omitted when you perform the slicing. Okay, so if you expect something of that sort, you need to give one more than the last value. Now, there are possibility for me to even provide steps for the slicing. For example, if I say S2 2 colon 9, okay, again, and then I say 2. Okay, so here you find for the slicing, I have 3 values, if you are able to see. First is the start index. Second is the end index that I'm planning to have. And the third one is actually called as the step. Okay, if you remember, in the case of range function also, I had explained you the concept of step. Step says from the start value, how much steps you are supposed to take. Okay, by default, the step is 1. always by default the step is 1. So that means if this is what has happened previously. If I say S2 3 colon 7, so there the step was 1. That means from 3 I moved to 4, then from 4 I moved to 5, and then to 6. Okay, but here if I want to move out from the default value and I want to give a specific value, I can give the specific value over here in as in this example as 2. So from index 2, it will take 2 steps. Okay, and rather than 1 step. Let's see the output and then let's explain the same. Okay, so what you see the output for here is for the S2, where the S2 value was programming rather. Okay, so I'll just take you to programming. Yeah, S2 was programming, and we had said the index should start with 2, fine, and it should end at 9, and the step taken is 2. So index 2 is what? 0 for P, 1 for R. So index 2 is starting from O. So O is printed, fine, and then since our step is 2, we will not go for G, rather we will move 2 steps ahead and then we will go for R. So it is like O followed by R, then we will opt out A, then we'll go to M, then we'll opt out M, we'll go to I, and so on till you reach the end part. So that is what you have got the output over here as ORMI, because it had been moving 2 steps ahead rather than a single step, which is by default the system's operation. Okay, so other than that, we also can we can also just keep these initial values blank also. For example, if I say something like this, okay, that is the initial value, I had kept it as blank. So if when I keep the initial value blank, it automatically takes the initial value from the beginning. So if whenever you want to perform a slicing from the beginning, so you don't have to actually mention 0 over there, just keep it blank, so automatically it takes from beginning. Similarly, if I want to display the entire string, I can keep the end part also. For example, initial part I had kept blank. If I keep the end part also blank, then I say enter, you find the entire string is selected. That means the end part is considered to be the end of the string. You just need to keep in your mind that if whenever you give an end value, the system always takes 1 less than the end value. But when you don't give any end value with a colon and a blank for the end value, it automatically takes the entire end part. That means it goes till the end. So if whenever you want to create a substring till the end, you can keep the end value blank for that purpose. Okay. With that, let's have a way of finding the reverse of a string by using this slicing. It's a very interesting statement. You just need to write. Okay, what you're saying here is like no start value. That means it starts from the beginning. End value is till the end. And your step is -1. That is on the reverse order. And when I say enter, so what exactly you see here is nothing but the reverse of the string. So this is a very handy way of finding the reverse of a string. Okay, just give a colon and a -1. Okay, every time you do this, get the reverse of a string, because here the stride or the step is -1, so it moves from the negative direction. So that's the basic this one for the string. And then let's just have some example of list also in the same fashion. If I say we have certain list, we'll just create 2 lists for that purpose and then work on that one. I'll just create one list. I say 1, 5, 8, 15 or something. One list L1, another list I create L2, 34, 6, 57. So I have 2 lists over here. Fine. Okay. Now, if I want to perform any list operation, all the indexing that I told you over here for string is applicable to our appropriate lists also. Okay. So if I say L1 colon -1, what do you expect? Can you tell me? L1 colon minus 1. Yes, what it exactly has done is it has reversed the list entirely, and you find that this changes you have not specified on the string on that appropriate list. The list is remaining the same. I've just displayed the output over here. If you want, you can specify L1 is equal to if I say L1 is equal to L1 colon minus 1. If I give enter, and then when I print L1, you get that L1 itself is reversed now. Okay, so if I want to reverse a string entirely, you just need to write a statement like that: L1 is equal to L1 colon minus 1. So the entire list itself gets reversed. Okay, so that's the basic idea about list. This one. Now, if I want to insert a particular element on the list at a particular position, I can use a function L1 dot insert. It's the entire, there is a huge list of functionalities which are available. You have to just go through that functionalities, and you just have to work on each and everything so that you will be having a better hold on this one. So for example, if I say insert at the position, that is the index is at the index 0 for on L1, I put a value say 100. And I'll just see what happens to L1. So now you find L1 has got 100 at its first position. Okay, so you can even create an new list out of an existing list by putting the entire list, that is appending a list content of the entire list by extending one list to another list, and many things of that sort. Okay, now let's see some example of dictionaries. I'll create one dictionary, the student dictionary that we have discussed previously. I'll just recreate it here. Stud. So you remember the dictionary, how the dictionary starts? Starts with a curly braces, and it also ends with a curly braces. And then whatever you want to give should be given in a key value pair. Okay, so keys can be any data type which is of the type immutable. It could be strings, it could be numbers. There is no specification how it has to be, but then it can be even tuples, but it should not be a list because it's a mutable data type. Name, I give some name. Comma, and then I say roll number. Okay, since keys are supposed to be unique because it's via the keys that we identify the values within a dictionary, so you need to keep the keys as unique. Roll number, I keep something like same 7, 5. This one particular dictionary that we have just created. Okay, so hope you understood how many elements we have in this dictionary. Okay, the total number of elements that we have in this dictionary are 3. There are 3 elements. Okay, so the first one is name value, that is a key value pair indicating name as ABCD. Second is roll number 765. Then third is class MSCCS. Okay. And now if I want to retrieve a particular value from this particular dictionary, I can refer to the dictionary and specify the key. Okay, so the specification of the key is done with the help of a get function, and then I just pass on the key to it. I'll say student, and I say class. I want to just see what is the class of this particular dictionary. Okay, so then it displays MSCCS. Okay, so to retrieve any content from a dictionary, you have to specify the key. Key is very important. What if I want to display all the keys together? I can just say stud underscore dict dot keys. Okay, so you find that you get the dictionary keys as name, roll number, and class. And if I want to get only the values, and not the keys, only the values. Okay, so now you find only the values are being displayed. The values are ABCD 765, MSc CS. And if I want to see all the items rather, then I can just say stud underscore tick dot items. Okay, so it gives me the items. Item in a dictionary is nothing but a key and a value pair. So it shows that there are 3 items. First item is the name along with its value, roll number along with its value, and the class along with its value. And if you want to remove an element, you can make a call to a pop function and then remove the value with the particular key also. Like okay, and then I pass a key. It has popped MSc CS. I'll just check what is the status of stud underscore dict now. When I say popped, it is supposed to have removed. So you can see now it has been popped and it has been displayed and it has been removed from the dictionary. Okay, so the only thing that you have to note here is like for dictionary, we are not able to perform any of the slicing or indexing that we have done for strings and lists. The reason is like a dictionary is an unordered list. It's not an ordered list. You can perform only indexing. That means you can perform indexing only on ordered list, which is a string or a list or a tuple. So tuple I have not shown you over here because it's similar to that of our strings or lists. The concept is similar to that of that. Okay, so in case of dictionary, you have to work with the various functions that we have with the dictionary to retrieve the appropriate keys, retrieve the values corresponding to a particular key, and so on. Okay, so yeah, so with that, I think we can conclude for today's session. So there are more to go for Python. This was just the basic concept. So the much more contents that is supposed to be taken care will be taken in the next session, where you will be introduced to the data science part of Python, how the various modules of Python can be implemented for the purpose of data science. Okay, thank you all.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Maya ma'am. So, any question answers? Anyone wish
Thank
to
you,
ask
ma'am.
any question? Uh, Ankush?
Thank you, ma'am, for this beautiful session. We can now go to Q&A. So the first question is like the very basic one and says
Yeah.
Python is very useful for data science background, but is there any need to learn C and C++ for the basics? Because C is kind of the root for all programming languages.
Listen, C as a programming language is actually a required language, because there you get to know exactly how variables are stored and all the other stuff. But it doesn't mean that if you want to go for data science and you know Python but you don't know C, there is no issue. If you're good at your programming language, you can be expert in your appropriate field. So it's not mandatory that you need to learn C and C++ to go for any application of data science. Python is more than enough. Yes, I
Okay.
think I answered.
So could you discuss applications in developing physics related, physics related
Physics.
simulation?
Okay. For physics as well as for maths, you find there are separate modules. Python is actually implemented in form of several modules. Depending upon the kind of application that you want to explore out of Python, you can go for the appropriate modules. You find SciPy is there, which helps you out with the scientific calculations, and that is required, that can be implemented in physics. NumPy for mathematical calculations and all the other stuff. So it's all modules are various modules are there. So you need to just explore the modules and then you are good to go.
And can Python be used in gaming industry?
Yes, sure. Gaming also, you have a Pygame module available, and in addition to that, several modules are there. And since it's an open source software, every now and then you get more and more modules added. So Pygame is very commonly used module. So gaming, obviously, you can use.
Which module of Python machine learning?
Yes, machine learning, I think pandas are good for that, as well as there are NTLK, and several modules are available with which you will be able to get into the natural language processing part.
Okay. May I know the benefits of Python compared to R programming?
R programming, I'll let you know. R programming is actually not a programming language. It's a completely statistical way, that is statistical notations. That means the way you take data sets and then you compare the data sets and then generate the appropriate required graphs and all. Python is more than that. That's what we can say. What R can do is only meant for statistics part, and what Python can do is more than that. You can perform all the stuff that you can do in R in Python also. A bit of programming is required in Python, so there may be people who are worried about programming going into R programming, but that doesn't stop anybody, because even Python programming, if you are into practice it, then I think there won't be any issue. So it's like Python is like a superset, and R we can say is a subset content. The content wise, it would be a subset out of it. Yes. Anyone?
Any more
Are you
questions?
planning to take any session about machine learning?
Machine learning, we are not actually planning. We are actually planning for data science. That is how the Python implementation for data science would be beneficial. If need is required, we may plan for that also. But in the near future, we are planning for the prospects of Python in data science rather.
So I'm planning for learning for going for machine learning. Is data
Okay.
science useful there?
Yeah, sure, sure. Because once you get an idea about how the stuff is working here, then data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, they are all clubbed together in one way or other. So it will be beneficial for you.
Ma'am, can you please tell is there any scope of an art student who is without math and science in plus two
Huh.
and then
Yeah.
pursue in Python? What course can we do?
Yes, obviously, Python does not need any specific background rather. We don't say like you need to be from maths background or you need to be from that
Yes, ma'am.
background. You have a logical way of looking into stuff, then you are good to go for programming.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Ma'am, please
no,
suggest me that I want to do some additional course. Now I am currently doing BCA in game and software development, but I want to do something else. So what
okay.
can I do? So,
You can go for various certifications depending upon the kind of interest you are into. But when it comes to Python, there is no exact certification that is currently available. That means officially we don't have a certification for Python. There are many organizations which provide certification. But in case of Python, I don't say that you go over there and do a certification for Python rather. But then if you are interested in various courses, it's up to you. Like if you are into gaming, then related to gaming, you check out what are the possibilities and then you can go for some certifications which are valid rather than some kind of other.
yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, another question by Aditya. How is
Yes.
Python used as an application in statistics?
Yeah, for that statistics, that's what I said. In statistics, you find that we have pandas as a module and numpy as a module. These actually performs analysis of data. So when it comes to data science, it's all that statistics that we say. So we can say data science is nothing but a collaboration of computer science with statistics. So obviously, we find that Python has got several modules which helps you perform your work in statistics in a very nice manner. So uh, whether you want to plot a graph or you want to find the analysis of a particular set of data, there is a large amount of functionalities that you have in the various modules. So you should go for it.
Any more questions?
Hello, ma'am. How to end a infinite while loop?
How to end an infinite while loop, like for example, you say like you want to create an infinite while loop, then you need to have a statement like say while followed by true. Okay, where the T has to be capital, just keep in mind, because in Python we have the true and false indicated as T capital and F capital. So you say while T capital true, and then you write the set of statements, and then you have to ensure that you have a break statement within the loop with an if condition. If a particular condition breaches, you break out of the loop. So that will ensure that though your Python is having an infinite loop, okay, infinite loop, if you have understood, it's created by just writing while followed by true, which indicates that the condition is always true. So that loop is going to work forever. So within your body, there is a block. You need to have an if statement. If a particular condition, on that condition, you break out of the loop. If you don't write this particular if condition, then your loop is going to work forever. So that will crash your application. I think I answered the question.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
the if the concept of classes, objects, inheritance, will it be covered in the next session?
Object-oriented programming part, we will be looking into the feasibility. Otherwise, I'll just brush up that concept at least in the next session, because our next session would be more into the uh, way of implementing statistics and all. But then I'll try to brush up a bit of object-oriented concept in the next session.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, when is the next session?
Next session, we will be announcing later. Those who are willing to go for the next session, by tomorrow, I will be giving you an assignment in the Google Classroom. The class code would be provided to you by the coordinator. So you would be invited to the Google Classroom, and then there you will have to attend an assignment, a quiz assignment, and subject to the qualification, like how much you score in that particular assignment, we will decide whether you will have to go for the next session or not. So those who are interested for going for the next session, make sure that you attend the quiz assignment tomorrow that is going to be scheduled.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
When will you give that assignment?
What? I didn't get you.
I'll just talk to you shortly about that. Any QA
Yeah.
session?
So assignment will be completely based on what we had seen today.
Ma'am,
Will be giving today only.
Assignments we will be providing tomorrow in the Google Classroom. It will be a time stipulated assignment of nearly 20 to 30 minutes. And that's it. It's a quiz, or whatever is based on today's contents.
ma'am,
Sharing those PDFs which you showed us?
I'll be sharing it with the coordinator. She will be taking care of it.
ma'am, in between Python, Rust, and C programming, which one is the better one to opt for career?
For career wise, listen, now C programming career, when you say, it's like if you are into machine based operations, embedded operations and all, then there is a scope of C. Otherwise, just learning C is not actually employable in the current scenario. Okay, so in the current scenario, you will be employable if you have a good knowledge of Python. But then C, it's good to learn C because it gives you the basics. That's it. But you need to have more than C now. Just a C programming concept will not work for you.
And ma'am, between Python and Java, as both are high level programming languages.
Yeah, both are high level programming languages, but then Java has its own way of implementation. At times we say Java is much faster. The reason is like the Java already takes information about the data types of the variables and all the other stuff. So for the Java interpreter as well as the compiler, implementation is a bit faster. Whereas when it comes to Python, the Python interpreter is performing many things on behalf of the user. So it's a bit slow when it comes to implementation. But then you need to consider that the size of the code matters. Whatever you write in Java for 2 to 3 pages, in Python you write it within a half a page. The same thing works. So it all matters how much. But then we can't just say ki like we have to go out of Java because Java is a very powerful language.
Okay, let's take up a last question. Okay, there's a question in the chats.
Okay.
Which is the best Python IDE commonly used for data science operations?
Okay, for commonly for this one, you have the Jupyter as well as the one that we have Spider, which are all part of Anaconda. That I'll be explaining in the next session probably how to implement Anaconda. Anaconda is it's actually a bundle consisting of several Python implementation. So Jupyter is good, and similarly Spider is good for that. And because the basic problem with the ideally is like ideally provides you with only some basic modules. If you are supposed to have more modules into ideally, you need to import it. You will have to perform installation of the appropriate modules. But when it comes to Anaconda, Spider or Jupyter, you find all the required
Hi.
statistical modules are
Hello.
inbuilt, so you can just start working on it without any problem.
Okay, ma'am. Can I ask one last question? Hello. Can I ask one
Yes,
last
yes, go for
question?
it.
Yeah, okay, ask.
Can we completely rely on Python as the subject? Because many job companies they don't ask the questions related on Python. They either check our knowledge on C++ or Java. So can we rely on the
No,
Python as the only subject,
listen.
or is there an
Thing,
alternative subject that must be?
no, listen. Things like it had been C++ and Java for a long time, and Python is putting its foothold now. It's like emerging. So you may find more and more companies asking for Python, and that means they will be asking you question over Python also. Okay, because Python is comparatively very new than that, and then it has now got so many application, and that is the reason Python is booming. So you may get into more like now you may find several companies asking for Python. That's for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Swarna.
Yeah. So I, Ms. Swarna Shrikant, would like to propose a formal vote of thanks on behalf of Center for Excellence and the SIS College of Arts, Science and Commerce. We would like to thank Ms. Maya Nair, the speaker for today, to take up this session. And we would like to thank Ms. Mahalakshmi Nadar, the coordinator of Center for Excellence, for arranging such a great seminar. And it wouldn't have been possible without the support of the volunteers and the technical team. So we really thank them and express a gratitude to them. And of course, a great participants, amazing and awesome attendees we have who have been really eager to learn and up their skills during this corona crisis too. So really expressing them a heartful gratitude And also thanks to all the well-wishers. Stay safe. I would now request Ms. Mahalakshmi Nadar to deliver the conclusion remarks.
Thank you, Swarna. So I also express my thanks to our management and Principal Dr. Uma Shankar. She is there in some other session, so she couldn't join us. So Center for Excellence had just taken an initiative that we step ahead in programming. So we have many programming languages. So we thought something which is going to come in near future, let us be ready. So we train our students. So this platform of webinar it is a national webinar has opened doors to participants outside our institutions to come together. So now, as far as the conclusion is concerned, this event is just an introductory session. Now you have to practice and you have to understand that that would be exact hands-on training. So for that, what we have this we Maya madam has created a Google classroom code we have already shared. So when you're filling the feedback link, you need to give a concern that you wish to take successful certification in basic level. So today, those who have attended this session, they are eligible to go for the advanced level. Plus, they are eligible to take certification. So today, you may get a participation certificate, and those who want successfully completed basic level, which is a free session, level 1, they can fill that Google form and then join the Google Classroom. There we'll give you assignment and a quiz. You have to practice today and tomorrow. By tomorrow, I think, madam, can we give them time till day after tomorrow to submit the assignments? I think
It's
till
actually
17th June.
no, Mahalakshmi, it's just a quiz assignment. So I want it to be
Hmm.
kept as like for say 40 minutes or something. I want people to just
Okay.
have practice it right now, and then it's just a quiz, not a large amount of
So
set
they
of
can
code that
join
I'm
now,
making them.
and by tomorrow, we can whoever wish to take a successful certification in basic level,
Yeah, they
we
can
can give
join
them chance
tomorrow,
till
but
tomorrow.
no, they can join tomorrow. I mean, they can join today, and then the link that I will be sharing will be tomorrow at a particular
Yeah,
time.
that's fine. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so that
yes. At that time, let
automatically the
them take that
notification.
quiz.
Yeah, automatically
Yes,
they will
yes.
get notification when the link is sent.
Notification and that 40 minutes or
Yeah, so
whatever,
they
let
have
them.
to just they have to just complete the formalities there in that assignment. It would be 20 to 30 minutes. That's it, not more than
Okay,
that.
okay.
Quiz.
Fine, fine.
Okay, whatever we had
Yes,
seen
yes.
today. That's it.
So after that quiz, you will get successfully completed level 1 certification. Now those who want Python 3 certification, that is advanced, for them we are opening doors for advanced level. So those who have completed level 1, they might have participated today, may have not appeared for the quiz, but still they can participate for advanced level. So for that, we have kept a registration fees of 500. Those who are very ensured that they want to do advanced level, they can start with the NEF details. Already we have shared through the brochures. Still today we'll share it in our group. They can start and they have to fill their payment details like reference number and the screenshot of the online payment. They can upload while filling the advance link. So advance link we will share tomorrow. Okay, all process you can keep it ready. After the quiz gets over, that tomorrow evening 5 o'clock we'll share the advance link, and till 18 we'll keep the advanced enrollment open. After 21st we will have a day because advanced level needs a lot of training and one-to-one conversation also. All this platform will happen through either Google Classroom and Google Meet, which can be parallelly happening. That madam would take care. So the hands-on training, those who complete, if it is a faculty, so you say you want a FDP certificate, and students you have to say you want a student progression certificate in that advanced link which we will share. There you have to mention. Accordingly, you will get a certificate in 1 week's of time after you complete advanced level. And today you will get a certificate in 2 to 3 days for participation. Those who are successful after the Google Classroom level 1 quiz gets over, they'll get successful certification. I think this thing is clear. So you have any query, you can ask us in our group. It will be open till 5 o'clock. All your queries will be answered. Later again, we'll remove the chat option. And thank you so much for participating in huge number. We have participants from all over the country, many places. So it's really great that we had a very good national webinar. We had participants from Tanjore, Salem, Delhi, New Delhi, We had from even Uttarakhand, many more, many more. We can keep on going. Thank you, all the participants. Thank you so much. Feedback link.